So what do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be just like Commissioner Gordon.
Oh, cool. You know what he does?
No.
Stay tuned. Education Today starts right now. Welcome to Education Today. I'm Mason Flanagan of Armstrong High School in the Armstrong School District. Tonight we are beginning a new chapter of programming within Education Today series. During the 2015-2016 school year, the county commissioners approached the AHS-TV studio about recording their monthly update discussions for publication on their website. This year we're taking that partnership one step further and including these meetings as a part of a new series here at Education Today. Due to the importance of this information to the entire community of the Armstrong School District and the ongoing attempt to keep the district connected to the community, this was seen as a win-win for everyone. Each month we will be joined by Commissioners Pat Fabian, Jason Renshaw, and George Scamai, as well as a special guest from the county to discuss the local updates and news coming from the Office of the Commissioners. Welcome to Education Today. Would you please introduce yourself for our viewers?
Sure, Mason. Thank you for having us. My name is Pat Fabian, Chairman of the Armstrong County Board of Commissioners.
Thank you, Mason. My name is Jason Renshaw, Vice Chairman of the Armstrong County Commissioners.
Mason, I'm George Scamai, and I'm the Secretary of the Armstrong County Commissioners.
All right, thank you. What is the update on the Health Center timeline?
We had a meeting last week, the Board of Commissioners, with the Department of General Services and Premier Healthcare Management System, and kind of put a tentative timeline together. And that timeline is as follows. So what we're looking to do is June of 2017, the county will be transferring the business part of it to Premier Healthcare Management, and then in July 1st, the actual building and property will be transferred 30 days later. And it is our hope that Premier Healthcare Management System will be in the building mid-April and be reviewing their benefit package, insurance programming, and their transition plan May 1st of 2017.
And Commissioner Fabian, I recall when we met with them that they were very interested in getting into the facility as soon as they could, not only for the administrative reasons, but also just to meet the people, understand the culture. And that was one of the things I think we all agreed that we liked about them, is they wanted to become part of the community.
So at the end of the day, hopefully everything is transferred by July 1st of 2017. We'll be meeting bi-weekly with Premier Healthcare Management System to make sure that we're hitting these benchmark timeframes in a timely fashion, and to review any hiccups if there's going to be any at all. But we expect this to be smooth over the next couple months now.
All right, let's move on. What do you plan on doing with dollars from the sale of the health center?
Jason?
Well, I don't think we really sat down and have a real plan for it. I would think you just put that in the savings there, and there's some capital purchases that need to be done at the courthouse. But I think the county's never had a nest egg, and I think that's one thing. And and look at our priorities. You have to prioritize some things, and look at the best option for them. So it's not like we have to figure that out right away. I think getting the health center, taking care of the sale, and making sure everything's done properly, and then we have time to do that. I don't think myself speaking here, these guys can tell you what they think, but not one to just out and spend things. But if we can use it to better the county, that's what we want to do. So I think if that would match up, anything to better the county and the residents here, I think that's the goal here.
And I think anytime we have a chance to use those dollars for capital improvements, where we can find matching funds, would be a way to increase, or I guess
Yeah.
exponentialize the dollars that we've received
I
through
think
that sale.
first thing you have to look at is there's some debt with the health center that we've acquired, so we would have to look at paying off that. And just recently, there's some elevator issues. The cupola at the courthouse needs taken care of. Some things that we have to look at that needs done. That if you pay me now, pay me later. If you don't take care of them now, they'll cost you more in the long run.
Yeah.
So
You know what a cupola is? I'm putting you on the spot, Mason. It's the
nothing to do with chickens.
It's the big decorative thing on top of the courthouse. And a few years ago, the county had made a determination that they had to repair that cupola because it was falling apart. And the restoration project was estimated at about $250,000, believe it or not. That wasn't just going out and painting it. Of course, there was structural issues that they wanted to address as well. So whenever Commissioner Renshaw mentioned that, that's a very legitimate use of some of those funds.
No, obviously if there's, those things can be taken into consideration for something more
Sure.
precedent, like an elevator, things like that. But we have to address it. It's a focal point. It's not.
Yeah.
Is it on the top 10 list? Yeah, maybe. It depends. I have to sit down. We'd have to review things, and obviously not just going to jump into making those decisions.
Things are always changing.
So, but.
I know one thing we discussed, because this question was posed to us in the community a while back when the three of us were together, and until we have that sale agreement signed off
that's
on,
for sure.
you really can't plan for anything. As we've seen over the last years, you think you're going in one direction, and then something happens, and then you get thrown a curveball. But one thing that we have discussed in work sessions is surveying department heads and elected officials with a capital improvement plan over maybe a 5-year period. So that's something that we're going to take input from our department heads and elected officials to see what capital improvements they would need internally and throughout county government. And I couldn't agree with Jason and George more that how can we use these dollars, if need be, to capitalize on something to make Armstrong County a better place.
All right, let's move on to our next subject. What can you tell us about the multimodal projects?
The county just recently received 2 grants, and I guess we'll take them in 2 parts. The first one was a multimodal grant, and basically what we did was use 30% of liquid fuel money to leverage state dollars, and the total state dollars that we got back was $583,000. So basically, the county's 30% got us 70% from the state. And we've identified 7 projects that we'll be moving forward with this year. One will be in Elderton. It's a sidewalk and ADA ramps. Fort City will be paving, Freeport paving, bike markings, and signage to connect the Butler County Trail through Freeport. Katanning, there will be a paving project. Madison Township, a scenic road, and gentlemen, if you'll remember, that's kind of a safety issue. In an event that there was a flood in Reimer, this road definitely needs repairs, so these residents of Reimer have a way to evacuate in case there's flooding. North Buffalo, there was a pipe along Sportsman's Road that will be repaired, and South Bethlehem, sidewalks and ramping. This is kind of different than what we did last year. Last year, we allotted $150,000 of liquid fuels money, and that went out to 14 municipalities, boroughs, and townships. And I think it made it more, as we said, when we looked over criteria last year, we noticed that some boroughs, townships, and municipalities weren't getting liquid fuel dollars. So I think we kind of evened out the playing field. And most recently, we were at a Boroughs Association meeting, and we did tell them that what our plans were for this year using the multimodal grant and county dollars to leverage more monies to do these impact projects, I guess we're calling them. That might not be the case next year because several boroughs did ask if liquid fuels money would be available for them, and it's going to be on a year-by-year basis for us.
But again, you make a good point. We were able to distribute about $150,000
last year.
And the approach we're taking this year is providing $583,000 total dollars that we can use in the communities.
Mhm.
I wanted to clarify that point. I thought that that was a very positive.
Get more bang for our
Yeah,
buck. so to
take
speak.
those dollars and
Leverage it.
them there to get some more. So focusing on some impact projects that would be, I guess, say, you know, emergency services could, you know,
Mhm.
roadways and things that the infrastructure of the county. So I think we're going to look at those things and, you know, do them on a case-by-case basis. And a lot of these liquid fuel dollars are used for the county roads and bridges, but we don't have as many, so we can share that with the other municipalities and stuff to help them out that in their infrastructure. So one of the things that we're, you know, if you go to Westmoreland County, they have a ton of roads and bridges that they have to use their money for that. So we're lucky enough here to be able to help out municipalities where we can. So we're trying to do the best with what we have.
Yeah.
And I think well, from 100,000 last year to 500 this year, and getting some impact, getting these projects completed and funded. Maybe not totally, but pretty close.
Yeah.
Better than giving them, say, an $80,000 project. Hey, we can only give you 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now this year we can give you maybe 70, and helps the municipalities out. So whatever we can do to help, that's our main focus here.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. Can you tell us about the Bite Properties grant?
Yes, it's another grant. I think this caught our attention when we were going throughout Armstrong County in the month of September. We did a series of town hall meetings. What stemmed from that, especially in the southern end of the county, we fielded a lot of questions about, hey, what can you do, or do you have dollars for blighted properties? And what transpired after that, we brought it back to our office. We had some discussion with Senator Don White, and he went after a economic development and community development incentives program grant, which we will have $100,000 coming back to the county. So what's going on right now is planning and development had sent out surveys to all the communities and municipalities throughout Armstrong County to do some mock surveys. Once we get those back, we'll get a game plan on how we want to approach spending that $100,000.
All right,
Exactly.
let's talk about the future options of the Belmont complex.
That's a good question, huh? We get a
Let's
lot
talk
of
about it.
questions about the Belmont. Why don't you sell it? You share that thing. No, but it's a
Not
it's a
that
very
easy.
complicated,
Yeah.
complicated matter as far as the financial structure and the money that's been invested through the state to improve the facility causes with it certain stipulations. And if you guys want to expound on that a little bit.
Well, basically, the Belmont's been receiving grants to help, obviously, improve the facility since back in the day when it was even purchased. So some of them have end of life, which means, you know, you have to own it for so long and they expire. You know, so what I'm getting to is if you want to, say, sell the facility, you have to pay those off, the ones that aren't expired yet, went to end of life. So, and some of them have interest that is acquired too, you know, so, and also too, the county has to have so much recreational facilities, so this is one of them. So by getting rid of that, you have to replace that with something. So it's a little more complicated, but the biggest thing I look at is making that place operate in the black, you know, be at least break even right now. It's a lot of investments too. And one of the concerns I have, it's just focused in Katanning, it's not the whole county. So there's a lot of people that don't utilize it. So I think if we can find some things to help, it used to be a Belmont, it's called a Belmont Advisory Committee now, it used to be the Recreation Committee. So if we can revive that, give them some funding to help with the other communities. But back to the Belmont, I think it's great for the community. Whether or not the county needs to own it still has to be determined here, I think. And our financial situation will drive it. But, you know, whatever we do, we need to make it operate in the black and be profitable, even if it's just $1 right now. You know, I think we're getting there. You know, we're doing some things and, you know, baby stepping it here. I think once we get the health center issue taken care of and it's all done, you know, get too many irons in the fire here. Some big projects that you have to sit down and, you know, research it, and you can't just jump into, you can't just put a for sale sign on it and say that's it. You know, there's more to it than that. But the main thing is you got to look at all your options and weigh the best out for the community that we live in.
Yep.
I think too, one thing that this board's going to have to decide at some point is we have two needs up there. You know, the floor underneath the ice ring is coming to end of life, and there's a leak.
It's about a 20.
How substantial, we're not quite sure yet.
Yeah.
And we know that there was a feasibility study done by the previous board. The pool is coming towards end of life as far as the guts, I guess, the components of that. So, and they're both roughly $1 million projects apiece. So there's going to have to be some conversation about what direction do we go in with the Belmont.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you know, I don't know if we answered your question. I think the best thing at least I say when I'm out in the community, there's gonna have to be some tough decisions made about the Belmont. We're gonna have to have some kind of plan, a futuristic plan of how that fits into recreation. How does that fit into the county operating it, if we choose to. But selling it outright, as Commissioner Renshaw said, it's not as easy as
A lot of people in the community think it is.
Yeah.
people think.
There's
Yeah.
more behind the scenes things and restrictions and stuff, but I think in the long run, no matter what it is, it's good for the community. Again, do we have to own it? That's whether or not to be determined yet. I think there's some other options too than just selling. There's private practice and private partnerships you can get in with people to keep it at a county-owned facility, but maybe don't manage it and operate it. So there's some things we can do, but I think in the long run, as long as it's not negatively affecting the community and the taxpayers, I think it's a good thing. But sometimes when the ice machine that creates the ice is only, say 30-year life expectancy,
Right.
and we're here at 28, and we're knocking on the door, and there's $1 million, and then other projects in there to fix things up are $1 million. That's a lot of money for a county that doesn't have a lot of money. So, and we got to take care of some other needs. So I think it's just it's a tough decision. I think we're gonna have to face it here pretty soon. So.
The one factor with the pool, and I'll end with this, is when that facility was first constructed and that pool was put in, we didn't have the situation we have today, where if you don't own a pool, you have a friend that owns a pool, or a friend that owns a pool. In other words, it's much more convenient for people to walk out their back door and jump in the pool than to drive a few miles to a community pool. They still do it, of course, and I'm glad that they do. I just don't think there's as great a need. Of course, a declining population, so from the time when it was built to where we are now. So it makes it hard to maintain profitability with that one faction of the Belmont. So.
All right, thank you for explaining that.
No problem.
What information did you want to cover regarding tax collectors?
I think we just, it's a good question. I think we kind of just wanted to explain how we arrived at that decision. This was a decision that was vetted over probably 6 to 8 weeks, maybe if not longer. We spent a considerable amount of time researching 6 class counties, specifically trying to compare apples to apples, and then we went expanded that research to do across the Commonwealth and what tax collectors rate. And what our research has found is, Armstrong County in 6 class counties was one of 3 counties that did it on a percentage basis. And it impacted our general fund, number 1 out of those 24 6-class counties, almost $500,000. So I think we began to ask ourselves those questions. All right, this is how it's affecting Armstrong County. Let's look what other counties are doing. And what we realized is in 6-class counties, the average compensation was between $2.50 and $4. And across the Commonwealth, the average was $3 to $4. Yeah. So, and we had meetings with the tax collectors board members. Initially, we met with the tax collectors as a whole in our commissioner's office. We had individual meetings with tax collectors. I know Commissioner Renshaw went out and visited tax collectors to try to get an understanding of what they do and the service they provide. And then at the same time, we had to ask ourselves the question, all right, what's fair compensation for our tax collectors compared to what everybody else is doing, and what can Armstrong County afford? And we got to answer to the taxpayers on the other side of Armstrong County, so it doesn't burden them. And I thought we were fair with our end result. We ended up doing $4 a bill, which was $1.50 higher than
The
other
average.
6 class counties.
The average.
The average.
The average in 6 class counties, and it was right in par with what we've seen across the Commonwealth.
It was actually the per bill collected.
Collected.
It is, $3 to $4 was the highest there. So for us, it was a big savings, but yet we're still at the higher end. To be fair, and
We
and-
value their service, obviously.
Yeah, and it just comes down to, the county is in a situation, the percentages and stuff, some of these things have been implemented years ago.
Yeah.
And, the percentages would work for the taxes that probably be lower. So I guess you have to adjust things, and really there's only 2 counties in the class 6 that were doing percentages, and the rest of them have moved to the per bill collected. So it's a trend going across the state, and the state actually did a study in 2011 to basically help the counties and guide them on the most efficient way to collect your taxes and how to do it. So that helped us a lot when we talked to the Tax Collecting Association. We had many discussions with everybody, but it seemed like it was just a system, whatever worked for your county. Some of them were even as low as 82 cents. So, some of them were $1. Some had different systems to it and everything, but we found one that fit Armstrong County and worked for us. And it was a tough decision because
And
obviously
some were very few, but some were centralized, where the county treasurer was collecting those taxes.
yeah, which is the cheapest way to collect your taxes. So, but right now we have our tax collectors. We need to take care of them, and we also have to take care of the taxpayers in the county. So it's a double-edged sword. No matter how you make a decision, you're going to make some happy and you're going to make some unhappy, which is the nature of making these decisions. You're never going to make everybody happy, but you have to do the best for everybody. And some days you're a hero, some days you're a zero. So depending on who you talk to, you might be a hero on this one. Depending on who you talk to, you might be the biggest zero known to man. But that's the nature of sitting here at this table. You have to accept that and just kind of go on with your day and know you did the best for the majority of the people in the county.
Just to clarify, you hear us talking about 6 class counties. Counties are classified by population, and 6 class counties, there are 21, I think?
24.
24. So we belong to a pretty sizable group across the state when you consider there's only 67 counties in the state. So when we took the information from the other 23, okay, and put averages together, it came out to $253 a bill. And that's another thing I want to clarify. We're talking percentages and bills, or the tickets, bills. What do they call them?
Bills.
Okay. Well, the way the system was set up before, Mason, is you would, if you were a tax collector, you would receive a percentage of the appraisal of my home to collect my taxes and do your work. So if my home was worth $10,000, you took 10% of that. If Jason's was $100,000, you took 10% of that. The same amount of work goes in, though, to processing his or mine. Notice I gave him the 100,000 and me the 10. Probably, relatively speaking, pretty close. No, but the point is, it's the same amount of work that goes into that, and it's important work, and that's why we wanted to set it as high as we could, considering the taxpayers, the burden on the taxpayers as well. So that was the big shift, and I wanted to clarify that. We get used to the terminology, so.
Thank
But
you.
at the end of the day, I think it's something we all looked in the mirror and said, this is fair.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is fair, and it also saves Armstrong County taxpayers a considerable amount of money.
Mhm.
I'll give you an example just real quick. The percentage, 2.5% versus the per bill.
Mhm.
Right now, if you did the average,
Mhm.
now it's an average for our county. Now, some municipalities, boroughs and stuff, they have different amounts. So it would be an average. Some might be more or less. But $10.55 was your average per bill collected if we did it per bill, a flat rate right now. We went to 4.
If you converted that,
It gives you an idea of the savings that the county has, and it's that much savings. We're still at the highest end of the whole state, and that's all 67 counties,
That's
including
correct.
Philadelphia and Allegheny. So when you look at the whole state, we are paying them at the highest rate that the studies have shown. So now, if you still go to the percentages, they'll put you up to $8 to $10 a bill, but there's only a couple or few left of them, and they're all making their switch over. So because it's more of a budgeting thing that the county can sit down and say, hey, we know we pay $4 per bill. We know we have, like say, 41,000 bills in the county. just a ballpark, give you an idea. So that way we know we can budget a little bit easier than sitting down and being fluctuated. So
Yeah.
it was a tough one, but I think, one that we had to sit down and make.
All right, let's get on to our next topic. What information is there regarding jury commissioners?
This is something that the Board of Commissioners had an opportunity to look at because this is an election year for jury commissioners. And back in 2011, I wanted to make sure I had my date, the state and county code gave PA counties the ability to eliminate jury commissioners. Since 2011, 42 counties have eliminated their jury commissioners, and those jury commissioner duties got absorbed in typically where we've seen them through the courts of common pleas. Again, this is something we vetted again, we researched again, and overwhelmingly the majority of the counties have abolished their jury commissioners. This Board of Commissioners have elected to do that. There will be a cost savings there of about roughly at the minimum $35,000, and those duties will be absorbed through the courts of common pleas. We haven't flushed that and vetted it out, but we do know that the President Judge Panchik is willing to take on those duties within his office.
And I give the state credit for recognizing that at one time that system was necessary. That was, of course, before we had all the electronic advantages we have now. And so, having two jury commissioners, one from each party to make sure that, there's balance and fairness and so on and so forth, was essential. But the state recognizes over time that things change and that efficiencies can be implemented, and this is one of them that they gave counties the opportunity to take advantage of, and I think to the best of the taxpayers, we made that change along with the counties that Commissioner Fabian mentioned.
Well, that's our show for today. We'd like to thank our guests, Mr. Pat Fabian, Mr. Jason Renshaw, and Mr. George Skimai, the Armstrong County Commissioners, for joining us tonight. Our thanks also goes out to the TV production students of Armstrong High School, led by their teacher, Mr. Josh Miklos. They were our film crew today. This program will be aired in the usual time slot for Education Today on Comcast cable stations, as well as published on the County Commission website. Please join us again next week for another look at the Armstrong School District. DVDs, copies of this and all Education Today programming can be requested by contacting Chris Gaetano, Multimedia Technician at Armstrong High School. Visit our website for updated information about the district, and have a great week.